Hello, this is Eddie Johnson from Rebel Visions Corporation. I'd like to speak with you about um, permanent pivot. Sounds crazy, right? Permanent pivot to me is we had this pandemic. My kids call it the panini. Um, but we had this pandemic and it really, threw a monkey wrench into a lot of businesses, and hurt a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses found themselves having to pivot or create a pivot so that they could stay in business. With the way the numbers are going on right now and looking at the future and what could happen in the future pandemics, um, as you start to react to these different macro events that have a micro touch, I want you to contemplate the permanent pivot. So let's talk about restaurants for an example. Restaurants, a lot of restaurants went out of business. Some restaurants were able to stay in business by offering takeout and curbside pickup, right? Even deliveries. And that not only kept their businesses afloat, but some of these businesses were able to actually grow their business because of a feature that they didn't have before. Excuse me, that's right. A lot of businesses do not do takeout. A lot of restaurants don't do takeout. They want you to come to the restaurant. They're not geared for takeout. And there actually is, a whole process that you have to do to actually be geared for takeout. You have to have the cartons and everything else, and what fits into what. And a lot of restaurants they are geared toward presentation and not just here's a white box with your food in it, dump it out and eat it. It's hard to put that presentation in a box. So a lot of restaurants are tough on doing takeout. But for those that did, now that the economy's opened up a bit and the rules have relaxed a little bit, they're starting to say, well, we're not going to do so much to takeout. We're back to doing what was normal. My suggestion is let's take that pivot and let's make it permanent. And the reason why is because it'll help you in the future. It helps guard you or gird you, stiffen you, strengthen you for what could come in the future. What happens if there's another pandemic? What happens if there's another lockdown? Then what? You've got to reinvent yourself again to get back to whatever pivot thought you thought worked. How about right now you take the time, take a pause, turn around, look to see how you did that pivot, because remember that pivot you had to do it in a rush. But now you have the time to actually think about it, hone that product or service that you're doing with the pivot, and make it more permanent. Work it into your more permanent space. What's the worst that happens? It becomes an additional revenue stream for things that you're already doing or things that you're already producing. That doesn't hurt. So let's think about that permanent pivot. Let's think about making that thing, permanent. Like for me, it was, we had a company called Be Seen Sports. We still have it. We're still doing Be Seen Sports, but it's taken a back burner to other projects because for Be Seen Sports, we needed to be at sporting events. That's where we made a lot of our money. So how did we pivot? We had a social media platform for Be Seen Sports. We pivoted that to create a new social media platform for food and beverage called Rebel Vino. And that pivot is becoming permanent. And we've created a lot of new features and services that are on Rebel Vino that are not on Be Seen Sports. So we're looking at Rebel Vino and saying, okay, these 3 of the 5 new features fit Be Seen Sports, and we'll work those in, and then we'll relaunch Be Seen Sports. But we're going to relaunch Be Seen Sports in a way that, makes it so that we don't have to be present in so many, events, because it'll be easier on our businesses or on our business if we don't have to show up to an event or if those events don't exist. So when you look at pivot versus your real business, start thinking about how that pivot might actually fit your ongoing business model. So let's give that some thought. This is Eddie Johnson from Rebel Visions Corporation, and I hope that helps. Have a great day.